Sometimes the absolute most profound stories of heroism, they don't happen on a battlefield. They don't make the evening news, and they definitely don't involve grand, sweeping gestures recognized by presidents. Instead, they happen quietly, in the dusty light of a late afternoon, driven by a love so deep it literally demands the ultimate sacrifice. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking a deeply moving story about a man named Frank, a small wooden box, and a single choice that ended up touching millions of hearts. Let's get right into exactly what happened. Let's drop right into the emotional core of this. Picture an old man standing quietly on a dusty street right outside a pawn shop. He's staring at this small stack of bills in his trembling, weathered hand. And honestly, it isn't much money. It's really just enough for a few basics. A backpack, some notebooks, pencils, maybe a pair of shoes. But the weight of those bills, it is immense. Why? Because of what he had just given up to get them. This man is Frank. He's a 72-year-old military veteran. And the price he paid for that tiny stack of bills was, in a very real sense, completely priceless. See, inside this small wooden box rests a military medal for bravery. And for decades, this was Frank's absolute proudest possession. It was the one thing nobody could ever replace. But, well, life hadn't exactly been kind to him. After just drowning in medical bills, rising rent, and a devastating series of hardships, Frank actually lost his home. He's currently living in his aging pickup truck. Yet, amazingly, Frank's biggest concern isn't his own living situation. It's the 10-year-old boy taped right inside the lid of that precious box, his grandson, Ethan. Ethan is literally the center of Frank's universe. Now, Ethan's mother had passed away, which left Frank as the closest thing this boy had to a parent. And just a week before a new school year started, Ethan brings Frank a list of required school supplies. Knowing their dire financial situation, the kid forces a smile and says something just completely heartbreaking. He says, "Grandpa, it's okay if I don't get everything." Frank simply nodded. But inside, his heart absolutely shattered. He firmly believed that no child should ever have to start a new school year feeling less than everyone else. And that brings us to the pivotal moment inside that pawn shop. After examining the medal really carefully, the shop owner looks up and asks Frank, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Frank swallowed hard before replying with just absolute clarity. He said, "I need school supplies for my grandson." Right then and there, he traded away his defining piece of history. Let's talk about part one here, the price of priceless. You have to understand, years earlier, Frank had served his country with profound honor. During intense combat, he literally risked his own life to save his fellow soldiers. So that medal for bravery, it wasn't just a piece of metal. It was the physical manifestation of his courage, his sacrifice, his youth. It was a lifetime of honor, resting right there in that small wooden box. It was a tangible link to his past and a symbol of his character. And he just gave it up. Which leads us to section 2, an impossible choice. The days leading up to his decision were grueling. Truly desperate. On day 1, Frank collected cans, scavenging for absolutely whatever deposits he could gather. By day 2, he's seeking out and completing random odd jobs just for spare cash. And by day 3, the situation grew so dire that he actually began skipping meals entirely just to save every single penny. But despite all of this agonizing effort, it still wasn't enough to cover the cost of basic school supplies. That escalating desperation is what finally forced his hand open that wooden box. So now, we reach the third part of our story, the ultimate sacrifice. Think about what that medal bought. A new backpack, fresh notebooks, colored pencils, some folders, a pair of sneakers. Frank spent hours filling a shopping cart with these incredibly humble, ordinary, everyday items. On one hand, you have a one-of-a-kind military commendation earned under heavy fire. On the other, basic school supplies. The massive disparity between what was given and what was received, it perfectly captures the staggering depth of a grandparent's love. When Ethan finally saw that filled shopping cart, his eyes immediately filled with tears. Just completely overwhelmed, he asked, "You got all this for me?" And Frank, carrying the silent, heavy weight of what he had just done, simply smiled and replied, "You're worth it." He didn't burden the boy with the truth of his sacrifice. He just wanted his grandson to feel valued. But then we get to section 4, a community awakens. Here's the twist. What Frank didn't know was that his quiet sacrifice wasn't entirely unseen. While he was at the counter trading his metal, another customer in the pawn shop had overheard the entire heart-wrenching conversation. Deeply moved, she took to the internet and posted the story online. And almost instantly, the response was explosive. Within days, thousands of Americans shared the story. People from all walks of life simply couldn't believe a veteran had given up his most treasured possession just so his grandson could have a normal start to the school year. What followed was a truly remarkable chain reaction of human kindness. First, as the story spread like wildfire, financial donations started pouring in from across the entire country. Second, a local businessman, completely touched by the viral story, visited that exact pawn shop, bought the metal, and made it his personal mission to track Frank down. And third, the wider community rallied together. They raised enough money to pull Frank out of his aging pickup truck and secure proper housing. Veterans organizations stepped up with support, and Ethan even received scholarships and school assistance. It was a complete, literal transformation of their reality. Which brings us to our final section. More than just metal. When that local businessman finally tracked Frank down and handed him back that small wooden box, Frank was rendered completely speechless. His eyes filled with tears as he looked at the metal he honestly thought he would never ever see again. But more importantly, for the first time in years, Frank felt genuine hope. The crushing isolation of living in his truck, of trying to protect his grandson alone against the world, was finally broken. Later, when reporters asked Frank why he was willing to give up something so incredibly valuable, he answered with a gentle smile and delivered this defining quote: "A metal is just metal. My grandson's future is worth far more." That simple, profound reminder is what touched millions of hearts. True heroes aren't just found on battlefields. Sometimes they're grandparents, making quiet, impossible sacrifices just so the next generation can step forward into a better life. We've unpacked an incredible story of sacrifice and community action today, and I think it really forces us to look past the surface of our everyday lives. So I want to leave you with this to think about. Who are the quiet heroes making impossible sacrifices in your community? The ones trading their own comfort for someone else's future, hoping nobody even notices. Keep your eyes open. You might be surprised by who you find.